All right, we'll get going right away then. Thank you all for joining us on this lovely hot afternoon for another installation of MKE Food School. Today we have MK Drayna of Whisk Chick. She makes beautiful baked goods, and I can't wait to see what she does for us today. So I'll let you guys take it away.
Thanks so much, Rita. Hi, everyone. This is Andy Shaka, and I'm joined by Jennifer Bartolotta and Mary of Whisk Chick. We're super excited to have you here with us today. This event is co-sponsored by NEWaukee Cloud Cafe and the Milwaukee Food School. Milwaukee Food School is dedicated to increasing conversations around Milwaukee's community table with a greater focus on inclusivity and food system solidarity. So we're talking to people that cook food, grow food, harvest food, and everyone, of course, who eats food. This morning, I'm delighted to welcome as a primary host rather than a co-host, Jennifer Bartolotta, who is the president of the community board for the Milwaukee Food School. She is also the liaison to the National Advisory Board for the Milwaukee Food School. And we are delighted to have her leadership and have her host with MK, who's going to talk to you a little bit about Whisk Chick and show us some cool things in the kitchen. So with that, Jennifer, please take it away.
Thanks, Andy. Good morning, everybody. Well, I guess we're on afternoon officially. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome, MK.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm awesome. I woke up. I'm always good when I get another day to play in my little sandbox. Before we get started, or as you're getting started, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? I'm going to get rid of my audio or my video so I'm not distracting.
Okay.
So have at it.
Okay, cool. So I'll just talk a little bit about myself before we fully get started here. So my name is MK Drayna. I graduated from Muskego High School in 2017, and then I went straight to Milwaukee Area Tech College, started my pastry journey, and I did my 2-year associate's degree in baking and pastry arts. I knew that was what I wanted to do right out of high school, so I got a head start. A lot of people start later in life, but I'm really lucky to get going right away. So since then, I've worked at Harbor House for about 1.5 years on the pastry team. That was some really, really awesome experience. I really liked that job. Got a lot of really good guidance and advice, learned a lot more about the restaurant industry. And then aside from that and my small cake shop job in high school, now I am the head pastry chef at North Shore Boulangerie, and I also am the owner of Whisk Chick. I make custom desserts, so cakes, decorated cookies. I also have a sweet table menu option for weddings and big parties and stuff like that. So I'm pretty busy, but I love it all, and that's about all I have to say. So I'm just gonna start to get some stuff. Oh, sorry about that. I'm just gonna get some stuff set up here. Oops. Sorry about that. All right, let's get readjusted so you can all see what I'm doing here. All right, so cake turntable. And then I've got my board here. Let's see if I can even back this up a little bit more. I think that might be easier.
There you go.
There we go. Oh my gosh. All right. I don't do this all the time, so we're learning this together. Okay, so I got my cake board. I've got everything ready to go here. I'll grab my cakes.
So while you're doing that, it sounds like you made a big shift during these quarantine times. What motivated you to end up at your new position, and how is that going?
Sure. So I was hired on a contract project back in October to do a big gingerbread display for North Shore Boulangerie. I won the MATC gingerbread contest 2 years in a row, and so one of my teachers recommended me for that job, which was super cool. So I did that throughout November. It was displayed in December, and then I was offered a part-time job, and I thought, you know what, this is definitely a good step in the right direction. I think I'm ready for this. I was also offered commercial kitchen space, which was what I would use normally for, doing big events and stuff like that. Excuse me one second. So, yeah, that was super cool. And then eventually the pastry chef left about a month later, and then I was offered that job. And just with everything happening in my life, and I had been at Harbor House for about a year and a half, I felt that I had kind of exceeded my potential there. So I thought, okay, I think it's time for something new, a new cool job where I have a lot more control over menu items and stuff like that. And yeah, I really like it.
All right, so let them know, I'm letting them know why you put that frosting down on the bottom, but let them kind of know where you're headed now.
Okay, sure. So I'm just stacking all the layers. So this is a 3-layer chocolate cake, and it's going to be chocolate mint. So the frosting is mint flavored, which is super cool. And we're going to do a chocolate drip on top. We're going to put some thin mints on top. So right now I put little frosting on the board to stick on the first layer, and then frosting in between layers kind of as we go. So now I'm just adding the second layer.
So when you need comfort food, is it sweet or savory?
Sweet, always sweet. I have seriously, I mean, it kind of makes sense with everything that I do, but I seriously feel like I have the biggest sweet tooth in the world. So I'm kind of a sucker for candy, which is kind of silly because I can make croissants and all these fancy tarts and all that stuff, but really my comfort food is candy. As weird as that is, I just love sugar and it always brings comfort to me when I'm feeling down. I just go pick up a pack of Twizzlers or Sour Patch Kids, and that's my go-to, which is kind of silly, and I recognize that, but that's the honest answer.
So if the truth be told, this afternoon, my husband, Joe, would have eaten 3 square a day from McDonald's left unattended. So I always had to be 2 steps ahead of him so that he wouldn't go to McDonald's, because with all of his restaurants, one of his favorite meals was the drive-thru at Mickey D's. We have a question from one of the members of the audience about how you flavor the frosting with the mint. So what do you use to incorporate that mint flavor?
Sure, so I just use mint extract. I use peppermint. There's kind of differences in between different types of mint, but ultimately peppermint and the mint and thin mint will go together relatively well. So I just use extract. There are different ways to do it. You could infuse mint if you wanted, but just for the sake of this, I think that it still tastes really great. So usually for my decorating purposes, I'll use extracts.
So there's a question about it caught their attention how much frosting you're using in between the layers. I'm going to tell them to sit tight and wait until you're done. The question was, how does she know how much to use? I think I know where you're headed, but if Kristen, you could just hang on for a couple minutes and see what she's doing here. I would like to comment that cake looks so moist.
Yeah.
I could just dive into it right now.
This is my chocolate cake from scratch, of course, and it's definitely my best recipe in my opinion. Super moist. The key, one kind of, pro behind the scenes tip from a professional. So this recipe has, at the end, you just add a cup of boiling hot water. And then that really adds to the moisture. Make sure that it's boiling hot to help with the baking process. I couldn't exactly explain to you how that works, but it's part of the baking. And that gets your cake really super moist. And as far as in between the layers go, a lot of people use scoops. And I used to use that in the beginning. I had an ice cream scoop that I would use. But at this point, I measure it with my heart.
It's a great guide for you to have. So Kristen, as you're doing this, as she's doing this, you can see that she's taking the extra frosting in between the layers and she's kind of creating a barrier with it, and where she doesn't have enough, she's adding. And so that's why, part of the reason why there's so much frosting on there is so that she can use it to create that first line of barrier with the frosting. The next question is the frosting, so what is the frosting? Is it whipping cream or cream cheese based, or what is the base of the frosting?
Sure. So my frosting is just traditional American buttercream. Some people kind of have mixed feelings about American versus Swiss meringue. I haven't had anyone, because Swiss meringue is kind of like the number 2, and it's a little smoother and silkier. I prefer the taste, but it's more of a pain to make, and I would have to charge more. And I've never had anyone really complain about the flavor of frosting, so this is just what I stick with because it tends to just be, you know, neutral, makes people happy. So in my American buttercream frosting, I just have butter, vanilla extract, and powdered sugar, and that's pretty much it. And then when I need to add flavoring, so usually I still, if I'm doing like lemon or something, I'll still add a little vanilla, because it still adds that really nice balance. But typically, it's just vanilla. But for this one, then I did like vanilla and mint. So I'm just smoothing out the edges here. You can kind of see. So this cake, I plan to do kind of a naked cake style, because I think that kind of adds to the decor depending on what kind of design you're doing. And so since I'm doing more of a taste-based design instead of like color-based design, and we'll kind of get into that, I think it's just cool when you can kind of see the cake through. So I'm going to scrape the sides, and I'll show you in just 1 second. So I've got my scraper here, and then it's kind of bright on the cake. Hopefully you can see. I'm just going to scrape all the way around, and then you end up with this kind of effect where you can see the cake through it. Well, maybe if I, there we go. That's a little bit better. You can kind of see the layers through the cake, which is cool. And different layers sometimes kind of poke out on different sides of the cake, depending on how even you got it. But let's see. This guy looks a little uneven, so we're just gonna smush it over. There's a lot of like improvisation when it comes to this step, just making sure everything's even. There's not really like a super foolproof professional way to do it every single time. So I'm just rolling with it here.
So those of you who aren't familiar with baking, the baking part, the cake part, is a science and exact, and it's why it's always frustrated me. So I pride myself on being a savory cook because I don't always have the patience to follow the recipe. But in baking, it's also important that you not just appreciate the structure that comes from a recipe and the science behind it, but that you also do what we call in the restaurant business with hunt. And that you take what you have and you make it work. And so you can see that that's what she's doing here, despite the fact that she likes precision and clearly does a great job of it based on how moist that cake looks. She also has kind of that entrepreneurial spirit where she's gonna figure out what she needs to do to make this work. So it's a nice balance between, you know, the regimented baking and the ability to be really super creative with it.
Yeah, so definitely when it comes to the recipe, I do not stray away from the recipe. And, you know, I worked on it, I perfected it, and that's that, and I'll never do it a different way. But for decoration and even steps like just a coat of frosting like this, I mean, it's definitely, at first, I learned it a certain way, and then I was like, okay, I want to make this like more precise and even, and then I kind of did it my own way. And then ultimately, at the end, I went back to just kind of going by feel, you know, between adding the frosting between the layers. And I used to have more of a method for that, and now I've done it so many times, I just kind of do it. So yeah, there's definitely, and then decoration-wise, sky's the limit. So, you know, between wedding cakes and birthday cakes, the decoration is going to be different, obviously. But there's definitely, you know, and a lot of times, you know, in a cake shop, you've got your baker and then you've got your decorator, and they do different things. Not always, but sometimes. But when you're doing both, you really have to gear in and make sure that you're getting all the steps down for each thing. And sometimes it's hard when you have a really like perfection-oriented baking brain and then a really creative-oriented decorating brain. It just definitely is hard to balance sometimes, or you know, you really want something to look a different way and then it doesn't look that way, and then you have to go back and, you know, be a little more creative. It's definitely a balance between baking and decorating, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So.
Okay, just so you know, we're at almost 20 minutes into it. So you,
Okay.
just to give you an idea where you are time-wise.
Okay. I'm gonna pop this guy in the freezer here. Might even it out a little bit. Normally I would use the fridge and I would just do like a bunch of cakes at once, but since we're just doing one here, we're just gonna do this. So this is kind of a crumb coat, but we've got more crumbs going on here than usual for that naked cake style. And then we're gonna do chocolate drip, some little swirlies of frosting, and then Thin Mints on the top. So this is gonna go in the freezer for now, and we're gonna come back to it. In the meantime, I've got some frostings to mix. I'm gonna see if I can adjust my camera here so you can see what I'm doing on the table a little bit better. That's definitely better. Okay.
Nice wood block.
Huh?
Nice wood block.
Oh, thank you. It came with the apartment. It's like a movable island, and it's a nice chop block. We love it. And it's great for videos.
So what is one of the greatest challenges that you face having a full-time job and trying to grow your business?
Every challenge, essentially. It is a struggle. I mean, there's certain ways after a while now I can kind of manage it, but like for the most part, it's really, really difficult. I would say the biggest struggle of all, I feel like with many business owners, it's just time management. So I'm trying to do a million things at once, and I have this due at this time and that due at that time, and then I have to like do this at work. And thankfully, I have a lot of flexibility in my job, which most people don't have, so thank goodness. But time management is definitely the biggest thing. Just, you know, and like I said, or maybe I didn't say it, right now I'm working like 60-hour weeks. So it's North Shore Boulangerie, 40 hours, and then Whisk Chick stuff like 20, sometimes closer to 25 hours, depending on my workload for the week.
And just so everybody's clear, it's not like you have a chest freezer at home with 1,000 cake layers ready for you to like pull them out and frost them, right? Everything's made to order.
Everything is made to order. Yeah. So unless I'm like cooling down the frosting in the freezer, I'm kind of in a rush. I have to get stuff cold. Usually like everything is nothing is frozen. So everything, you know, I have an order for a huge graduation order this weekend. That's a huge cake and a lot of decorated cookies. And then I have a small red velvet cake, and those are baked like yesterday, today. And it's definitely difficult. Some things I do here, but since I have that commercial kitchen space at work that I can use, it's super convenient and super great of my boss that I can use that kitchen for like bigger order stuff. So like those big cakes I baked in the commercial kitchen this morning, and those, you know, cookies, I don't have huge sheet pans and a huge oven here, so that I could do at work punched out, which is really, really convenient. But I could not do that high volume stuff if I was just working at home. So I'm really, really lucky to have that resource. I'm really lucky in a lot of ways, but that's definitely a big thing.
Well, we create our own luck, young lady.
You could say that.
Okay, so what are you doing now?
Okay, so I have my green food dye to give you a little preview of the mint before you bite into it. I didn't want to dye all the frosting green. I'll kind of show you what I'm doing here. So this bottle is obviously very worn. I use Americolor for all my food coloring. I use Americolor. You can order it online. You can buy it at Cook's Cake and Candy Wholesale in West Dallas. I love that store. They have pretty much everything. So that's where I get my food dye. So This will be for some of the swirls on the top of the cake. So you can see I've got my frosting here. I'm just mixing it up.
Is there a reason why you're using a copper bowl?
No, it was gifted to me. Christmas, my senior year of high school, I got like a whole set of Martha Stewart stuff, and I pretty much ruined it in the dishwasher. As you can see, I guess it's not supposed to be in the dishwasher, but it still is perfectly functional as a bowl. And that's why I'm using it.
So the spatula that you're using, you know, tools are so important in cooking. You know, there's nothing like a chef knife if you're cooking savory. Are there particular brands of things that you like your pastry scraper?
Excuse me one moment, sorry.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm good. I had something in my throat. Yeah, there are definitely good brands. There's some cheaper stuff you can kind of get away with, but when it comes to like this little spatula, this is my offset 6-inch spatula. This thing is like seriously an extension of my right arm. It is the brand, I got this in a big kit that we had to get in school. It's Ateco Ultra number 1305, if anyone's interested. But like that's it, really. A lot of stuff I got in school because we had to get like a big kit, and all that stuff is really good quality, so that's awesome. This is my like industrial, like you'll see these pretty much in any restaurant. The spatula, heat proof, red handle. I love this thing. Usually I use this guy for frosting just because it doesn't have that like rough edge, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, a lot of tools are, you know, can be used for a lot of things, but the one thing that I'm kind of picky about is my whisk, which obviously Whisk Chick. So this is my whisk. It's metal, it's sturdy, it's dishwasher safe. It has like a lot of little prongs. And I'll show you my boyfriend's whisk that he's been using since he lives here. So you can see it's got like all this stuff poking out. This thing seriously drives me crazy. I never use it. It's cheap. It's got stuff like, you know, I've like poked myself on this numerous times because these things at the end come out. So it's just like, get good quality stuff and that'll make your life easier, even if it is more expensive. And I will always stand by that.
So locally, if you're looking to purchase commercial tools and equipment, the Belter Superstore in Milwaukee is, I think it's in Glendale probably, but right on the border.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, they have anything that a restaurant would need to open. They have. Restaurant Depot also carries some things, but I would encourage you, if you're going to invest in these things, before you invest in something that would be more for a residential application. As an example, I love the OXO line. I have a lot of OXO products myself, but for things like the whisk that MK is talking about, or that it's that heat resistant high temp spatula that she showed you with the red handle. Those types of things truly are worth their weight in gold. I finally broke one that I'd had for almost 15 years. And so
they do last that long.
Yeah, I mean, I cook 3 square a day at home most days. So I'm using mine quite a bit. And, you know, while it may seem a little bit more expensive than the residential alternative, it's going to last forever. These things are designed to take a beating in commercial kitchens. So I would encourage you, if you're going to make an investment in equipment, to take a gander at Belter's Superstore website and just see what they have to offer before you make a commitment.
So worth it. So worth it. Seriously.
Yeah, and there's nothing like a good whisk. Nothing like a good whisk.
Nothing like a good whisk. Exactly. I have to agree with that. Alrighty. So I'm going to kind of show you this. We're going to use in a little bit. This is Ganache. First, I'm going to show you how to stripe a bag. So this is a really fun technique, and I'll kind of show you how it looks when it's done in a second. But basically, you have your piping bag. So you got your tip in the end. You got your bag. You're going to open it. And essentially what you do is you put different colors on either side of the bag. So I'm going to, I'm only going to use 2 colors, but if you want to use more than 2, you can, there's like different ways to do it. I won't explain it to you. It's hard to explain, but there's tons of videos online that you can find. So you can see I've got my green frosting here, and I'm kind of just going to put it on one side of the bag. Oopsie. That's why you always use a clean work table. Kind of a tedious process, but so worth it in the end, you will see. I'm going for more of a minty green because we're using mint. So you can see I just got green on one side. It's a little messy, but you can kind of see it. And then I'm going to take white and just stripe it on the other side.
So for baking supplies, you mentioned the store in West Allis. Could you give everybody the name again? And Andy, would you be kind enough to type it in and maybe find a link for people?
Yeah, sure thing.
Belter may have some baking things, but they're not going to have the variety or the selection that a specialty baking store would have.
Yeah,
So
so
for those of you that are interested.
I'm so happy to plug Cooks in this video. Okay, Cooks Cake and Candy supplies. I think if you Google it, you'll see.
Oh, look
yeah,
at you got
the
it.
link there. This place is like, they have literally everything. So they have every type of food dye, all kinds of packaging. They have like a million different types of candy molds. Gosh, they have like every type of sprinkle you could want in every color. They have all kinds of extracts. I usually don't buy those from Cooks, but they have them. They have fondant. I could go on and on all day. They have literally everything that anyone could possibly need, decorating wise, not baking wise. They don't have like flour and sugar, but again, they have every color of sprinkle you could think of. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that place. That's where, hey, these piping bags, Cooks, Specialty Co. Might be backwards, but yeah, I mean, they have everything. So here I've got my chocolate ganache. So you can see it's pretty runny. So I just microwaved it for a little bit, but it heats up really fast. So don't microwave it too fast. And then I'm just gonna clean up a little bit. Gonna pour it in here.
So while she's doing that, you'll notice I'm going to share kitchen confidential secrets, so to speak, stealing that from Anthony Bourdain, Kitchen Confidential. You'll notice that she has masking tape on that container, and it said what was in it, and she dated it. So MK, what would be the life if you were going to make chocolate ganache and keep it refrigerated? You made that on 7/1, we're on 7/9, so it's a little bit over a week old. What, 2 weeks in the fridge covered?
2 weeks, yeah, 2 weeks for ganache. I mean, you could definitely freeze it and use it later, but like I said, I don't really freeze much of anything. But yeah, that typically has like 2 week life in the fridge. Yeah, I would say that's about right.
So one of a cook's favorite tools in the kitchen is a Sharpie and that masking tape. And anytime that we make anything and prepare it, you have to label it before you put it away, because you might not be there the next shift and somebody else doesn't know how old it is. And I find it to be a really useful practice at home. I make all of my own vinaigrettes for my dressings, and I keep the little jelly jars, and so I'll just make a vinaigrette and I throw it in the fridge. And every time I do that and I don't label it, I'll say to myself, how old was that again? And so it's just a really good practice to get into, to keep the masking tape and a Sharpie handy. If you're going to be doing more cooking and more things like this, to make sure that you're eating food that is fresh and still healthy for you.
Yes, definitely. That's like, every single thing in the fridge, label, date, label, date. And, sometimes you don't think the label is that important, but it always will be. And sometimes you think, oh, I'll remember when I made this. And then, 10 days later, you're like, when did I make this? So that's, yeah, I mean, I don't usually wear like a chef coat when I'm, baking alone in a kitchen, more of a restaurant kind of thing, or if I have a delivery. But you can see it literally in the chef coat, built in, pen, Sharpie. And I don't have them in right now because, I'm just at home. But yeah, if I was like on the job, always pen, Sharpie, or, keep it in my pocket or whatever.
So MK, just so you know, we're at 12:32, so you have about 15 minutes left.
Okay, cool. That's perfect timing. I'm gonna pull the cake out of the freezer. Okay, here's our cake. Nice and cold. You can see. You can kind of see. Oops, sorry about that. The frosting doesn't fully cover the cake, but for time's sake, and for this kind of style, that's okay. So I'm just scraping the buttercream off of the board here. That's hardened on there. Okay, so now the fun part. I've got my piping bag of ganache, and I'm just gonna cut a little. That's probably good. All right, yeah, it's runny. Woo, real runny. All right, so I'm gonna try to face this towards you. So we're gonna try to see. Usually I do it this way, but we'll make it work. Okay, so got your ganache. I always do the edges first. I do not just use the middle and then like spread it out so it pours over the sides. You can do it that way, but if you want that really even drip, you're gonna wanna do the outsides first. So yeah, this is
pretty
really
good.
Maybe a little bit
great.
too warm. So yeah, you can see what I'm doing here. Yeah, those drips are a little better. So I kind of just do like all different lengths. I think that makes it look kind of fun. And then if you're trying to do them all the same length and then you mess one up, okay, you know, it's just easier to make it different and make it a little more fun. So we're just gonna keep going here. So like I was saying earlier, you know, you've got kind of more creative based cakes, so you've got more ingredient based cakes. So since this is chocolate and mint, I'm just putting on it chocolate and then thin mints. That's definitely one way to do it. Or like if you're doing, you know, a cake with like strawberry filling, you could put strawberries on it. And then the rest of this design is obviously pretty simple. Well, you'll see when we're done. But then, you know, for a kid's cake, say if they want like, I don't know, Sesame Street themed, then you would be doing all the colors and the characters, and that wouldn't really relate to the actual flavor of the cake at all. But you know, the flavor is just like vanilla or whatever, and the less focus is on the flavor than on the actual design of the cake. So here I'm just spreading out. You can kind of see I'm just spreading out that ganache, so I hit the rest of the top. And then since that cake is so cold, I'm hoping that ganache will cool down pretty fast here. But you can see I've got all my nice strips. This guy looks a little bit messy because the layers are a little uneven. I'm not usually doing an interview like this when I'm baking, but I'm doing my best. Alrighty.
You are crushing it. Don't worry.
Thank you. Okay, so looking around, I try to see like, okay, what's even? This whole cake is like pretty uneven. If I'm just gonna be honest, I think that's probably the most even spot, so we're gonna make that the front. So it's always important to establish like what's the front of your cake. And then I have my striped bags. You can see vanilla on one side, you know, mint on vanilla and mint, but it's all mint, but it's fine. And then you're just gonna, I'm gonna do little swirls around the edges and then stick thin mints in. So what I like to do to make sure they're even is I'll just go all right there, and then I'll do right across from it. And then same thing here.
So she's using a principle right now called even division in kitchens. And what you do is the way that we evenly divide things without measuring it out, because we simply don't have the time to do that, is exactly the principle she applied to this. So normally we would take something and we would cut it in half. That's essentially what she did. She put one at the top and one at the bottom, and then she did one on either side, and then she kept filling it in. And that way you're going to end up with even spacing so that aesthetically it's pleasing to your eye, not just taste delicious, but it's also going to look great because there's balance and symmetry to the way she's lined that up and laid them out.
Exactly. Awesome. Okay, so now I'm going to cut some thin mints. I'm just going to do them in half. So then, oops. Sorry. Then I don't have to worry about those big chunks of Thin Mints on there as much as that'd be delicious. So this is my chef knife. I got it in school. We just got like a normal chef knife and then a paring knife. So one little hot tip in the kitchen is, so some knives, like the blade stops there and then this is all just handle. But for a really good knife, you know it's good quality when there's like metal on the bottom. So you can see, okay, this metal is going all the way through the whole knife. Or sometimes you'll see it on the side here. Sometimes, you know, it'll be all over the place, but then you know this is all just one big, you know, blade essentially. And then the handle is just covered with something that's a little more, you know, easy for your hands. So that's a good tip. All right, I'm just gonna chop these real quick. Super sharp knife, awesome.
You using Girl Scout Thin Mints or what kind of cookies?
Yeah, I'm using Girl Scout Thin Mints. I still have some. They are the best ever. Okay, so now I'm just gonna stick them like into each little dab here. And then you get that really just like aesthetically pleasing look. You could also try to do them on the outside, or you could do like crumbs on the bottom. I knew this ganache was a little bit runny, so I didn't want to do anything on the bottom. But here, I'll pick up my camera here and show you the top. Let's see, there we go. So you can see, ooh, that's the top. And then the sides have this strip on them.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Birthday cake for one of my coworkers, actually. Okay, so now I'm probably just gonna keep this in the freezer for a little bit so everything, you know, solidifies really nicely. But here's your cake. There you go. You can kind of see the top, see all of it, and back in the fridge. Okay, so what else? Anything?
So before I go to Andy and see if there are any questions that we haven't addressed, what would you like us to know about your business? How can we find you? This is your shameless opportunity to self-plug.
Okay, self-plug. So you can find me on every social media at whisk.chick. So WHISK_CHICK. Yeah, there's my website. She just put whiskchick.com and at whiskchick on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I don't post on Twitter, but I just took the app. And TikTok. I make videos on TikTok. So if you use TikTok or if your kids use TikTok, it's definitely more of a Gen Z thing. So as the resident Gen Z baker, of course, I have a TikTok. But yeah, so check them out. Check out my photos. I have all my cake and cookie pics and stuff. And then if you want to inquire about an order, I have all of that information on the very top of my Facebook page. So you can email me or you can send me a message on Facebook to place an order. But July is pretty much fully booked now, and August is getting pretty full as well, which is awesome to be busy. So if you're looking to make an order, I'd probably do that sooner rather than later. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to say.
Okay, and then there was a question, is it a trend to have the layers showing? So essentially kind of like that naked cake on the side. And
Yeah.
Can you talk about other cake trends?
So, oh yes, okay, love this. So, definitely, even like 5 years ago, you wouldn't really see like the naked cake trend. That's definitely more of a modern thing. It's really popular for weddings to have like a tiered cake and all of your layers are like naked. So you have the cake showing through, and then you just like put flowers in it, which is a really pretty design. But then I like it because like on a cake like that, then it's another way to like show the flavor. It definitely looks better if everything is like super duper even. And obviously on mine, it wasn't. It was a little, you know, tippy, a little bit uneven with the layers, but that's definitely a trend. Other trends are like the drip effect that I just showed you. That is super popular. You can also do a white chocolate ganache drip. And for that ganache, I just chocolate chips, and then I heat up cream on the stove. And then once it's boiling, I add it to the chocolate chips, let it sit for a minute, whisk it together. It's like the easiest thing ever. I use a 2-to-1 ratio, so 2 parts chocolate to 1 part cream. And you can also use ganache as the filling. So yeah, that drip is super popular. I'm trying to think of some other stuff. Definitely now more than ever, really tall cakes are popular. So you might have like a cake that's not, you know, maybe like an 8-inch cake, and that was an 8-inch and 3 layers, but definitely it'd be more popular to see like a 4-layer or 5-layer, or like for a tiered cake, if you have like a 6 and an 8-inch round, they'll be taller, especially for weddings and for more elegant events like that. And I think that looks better too. But again, I am younger. I'm definitely on the very young side of the industry. So all these trends are really cool to me and I really like them. But as someone who may be in the industry for 10 or 15, 20 years, you know, they might be kind of like, whatever. But those are definitely the biggest things. So yeah, naked cake trend, tall cake trend, and like the drip effect on the side.
All right, we have one last question from our audience.
Okay.
She appears to be a Girl Scout troop leader, and she said, one of my Girl Scouts started her own cupcake business. If you could give her one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. That's amazing for your daughter. My one piece of advice would be good advertising. I don't know how old your daughter is, but like my big staple advice for beginners is like, you know, again, I don't know if she's like, you know, 10 or if she's 16, I don't know. But like if you have an Instagram account or any social media, like social media is, okay, she's 15, I just saw her say. Okay, so have her make a social media Instagram page for sure. And, you know, invest your time. You don't have to invest a lot of money in this, but invest time in like taking good photos. You know, white, clean backgrounds. You'll see on all my social media, all my photos are like very bright, clean. You know, it's not all yellowy. I like to use natural daylight. So definitely just like if your photos will sell your product. If you don't have good cake photos, your cakes won't sell. I guess that's the advice that I have, is that social media is really the whole world right now, especially in advertising.
So one last question about the Milwaukee community in general, as it relates to access to food and sustainability and connecting to farmers and the conversation. What one thing could create greater solidarity in Milwaukee around every aspect of the food chain?
Definitely one of my biggest things is shop local. So people don't even realize how much of an environmental thing this is, but that's huge. You know, go to your farmer's market. I mean, I don't know what is all open right now, but when I lived in West Dallas, I was pretty close to the West Dallas Farmers Market, and that one is huge and amazing. They have so many types of vegetables and everything. When you're putting money into the community, that money will come out in different beautiful ways. So just shop local, keep your money, keep your ingredients in Milwaukee. And sustainability wise, that's really important too. It's just the best way to help your community is just always to shop local, you know, instead of always buying from Costco. I know there are probably a lot of Costco fans watching, but it's just shop local. And then, you know, you might pay a little more or you might not, but ultimately the quality will be better. And then when you're investing in the community, that is a really beautiful way to help Milwaukee.
What a great answer to that question. I've said this to you before. It's a bummer that you don't have more passion, lady. I appreciate your spirit. We appreciate your time. Andy, any questions that came in through Facebook that I didn't see?
Nope, just a whole lot of love for you, MK. You're getting lots of raving reviews from folks who have ordered from you and are clearly big fans of yours. I know we had a couple other technical questions come in, but as we kind of round out on time, I just wanted to say how grateful all of us are for you, you know, for sharing your talent and your gifts with us. It was so fun to watch you. I can tell that this is truly something that you were called to do, and we get to benefit by eating your delicious treats. So thank you for that.
No problem.
I would love to give you the chance to just say one last thing, if you wish, to kind of close us out.
Sure. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much, everyone, for having me. This was really fun. I would totally love to do this again. I feel like I'm on a cooking show or something. It's fun. And, you know, thank you for all the kind words. I mean, I found my passion for baking when I was in high school. And like I said before, most people don't start at least they don't start professionally that early. So I had a head start, but I think it goes to show I'm not looking back. This is what I'm convinced I'll be doing until the day I die. So that's where a lot of the passion comes from. Thank you so much, everyone. Just like, this was so cool. Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's always so wonderful to talk to you. And I'm so glad that we have this awesome relationship, and just thank you, everyone. I'm really thankful for this.
Thank you,
are so
MK.
welcome. Right,
Yeah.
Rita, you want to close us out?
For sure. I just want to say a huge thank you to Andy, Jen, and MK for being a part of this. That was so much fun to watch. I clapped when the cake was done. And I was like,
Thank you.
so yeah, that's it for today. We have a few more MKE Food School programs coming up over the next couple weeks. Otherwise, you can check out what we have coming up on our Cloud Cafe if you sign up for our newsletter, or check out NEWaukee.com. I just want to also thank our sponsors. We have Ginger Lazovic from Shore West Realty, as well as North Shore Bank. They've really been able to help us keep these programs alive throughout this time. So huge shout out to them. Thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you on the Cloud Cafe again soon.